The switch of play can be one of the simplest strategies in football, yet it is one of the most effective for causing despair in a defense and a great weapon for proactive teams. It is in this type of situation that players like Toni Kroos, for example, can make a difference and be decisive. In this video, we are going to understand how this strategy breaks down any defense and explain some important concepts for a team to use these switches systematically. Many teams use high pressing, inducing the opponent to exit through one of the sides, and after the opponent makes that choice, the defensive block compresses to generate more pressure and increase the chance of a mistake from the team in possession. But this movement obviously creates an open space on the opposite side, which can become a good opportunity to create a more dangerous play. The big challenge for the team in possession in this situation is to get the ball out of this pressure zone and into the open space without losing control of it. And this is where switch of play strategies come in, which we will explore in depth in this video. One of the necessary concepts to enable a switch of play is the principle of space, which can be broken down into two types, let's say width and depth. Width is the breadth the team can give to its attacking block. So basically, it's the distance between the two most wide players of the team. Having a lot of width is a fundamental principle for a team that wants to explore switch of play strategies, as the more open the wide player on the empty side is, the more space he will have to try to break through when the ball is in his control. So, width is the space created horizontally, but there is also the space created vertically, which is called depth. A team that creates a lot of depth is the team that can place an advanced player with the ability to push the opponent's defensive line back, increasing the spaces between the lines of the defensive block. These spaces within the block can be important for certain types of switch of play. Generally, the intersection of the team's maximum width and maximum depth generates this diagonal path for the ball, which would be more or less the ideal trajectory for the ball to take in a switch of play, making the player on the opposite side a kind of target. But there is a problem here. It would be too good if this ball could quickly be passed to this target zone directly, in just one pass. But this is not always possible. This is because the player in possession needs a certain amount of time and space to make a long pass to this area, and since he is usually on the side where the opponent's block is compressed, he doesn't always have that time and space available, risking losing the ball if he tries a direct pass. This is where the concept of open ball comes in, which is when the player in possession has enough time and space to make the technical move necessary for that longer pass. And this situation can be created by manipulating the opponent's defensive block. We explain these concepts because they are a foundation for understanding the rest of the video. Well, in this video, we are going to divide switches of play into two types, the long pass switch and the short pass switch. For a long pass switch, it is first necessary to create a situation where a more accurate player has an open ball. Imagine that in a situation like this, the player most qualified for the long pass would be this defensive midfielder here. The team can make an exit to the side, drawing the defensive block to compress toward the ball side, while the passer could drop back between the center backs, escaping pressure, and the receiver remains open on the opposite side. The team could advance the ball slightly so that the defensive block retreats a bit, creating more space for the passer, leaving him free, and then, using a third-man dynamic, bring the ball back to the passer, with room to make a long pass if he can be quick. And of course, ideally, the ball's flight should be high enough not to be intercepted, but not so high that it becomes a slow ball. Players like Xabi Alonso, Kroos, and Pirlo were excellent at this kind of play. Another way to escape this pressure zone while aiming for a switch of play would be with short passes through the block. If you're a regular on this channel, you've probably seen us talk about positional advantage at some point. Briefly, it's when players manage to position themselves in the windows of the opposing block in a way that allows quick control or passing exchanges to happen with ease. In a situation like this passing exchange could happen to move the ball out from here and take it to the opposite side, following more or less that diagonal we talked about earlier. Often, the final passer who gets the ball to its destination may even be a more withdrawn player positioned on the opposite side, just outside the defensive block. Ideally, the ball should also not follow a linear path, as that would give the opposing block time to readjust and cover the space that was left open. So a passing exchange involving directional changes would be better, helping guide the opponent's pressure and keeping it away from the target area. Diagonal passing lines involving some third-man dynamics would be a good alternative here. Another important point would be the passer's reception. Ideally, their first touch on the ball would already prepare the pass in a good position. If they can do that, the ball can reach the isolated player before they receive stronger pressure. Now, whether it's a switch with a long pass or a switch with short passes, game reading and decision-making by both the passer and receiver are essential to turn this switch of play into an advantage. It's necessary to identify what kind of advantage can be created in this situation. For example, if the receiver is a fast player, already moving to accelerate, and the defensive line is not well positioned to defend the back, such as facing forward, it may be that the best choice is a pass into the open space for the receiver to get the ball in depth. If this type of advantage doesn't happen, the pass can be made for the receiver to get the ball at their feet. If the player receiving the ball is a good dribbler, who usually wins one-on-one situations, it could be a good alternative to try to accelerate in an individual move if their direct defender is exposed without cover. If that's not the case, and it's not advantageous for this player to attempt an individual move, there's still the option for a teammate to get closer to create a numerical advantage and provide support for a possible 1-2, to then accelerate the play and attack the open space. In other words, to capitalize on this numerical advantage on the flank, a good alternative is the combination of two players there. The 3-4-3 structure favors this type of combination by having a wingback and winger close together on the side. Here on the channel, we've already covered more details about how the 3-4-3 works. It's the video that's appearing on the screen right now, and I recommend you watch it.